Hello, my name is Leon. Welcome to another reading of the Elder Scrolls. Today we're going to be reading The Poison Song, Book 1, by Brishton Zeal. Okie dokie. It was beginning again. Even though everything seemed serene, the last empire embers crackling in the hearth, young servant girl and her child stumbling in a chair. No, slumbering. Oh, sorry, slumbering in a chair by the door. A tapestry half finished against the wall, waiting to be completed tomorrow. One of the moons visible through a milky cloud outside the window. A lone bird, out of sight in the rafters, cooing pleasantly. Placidly? That was right the first time. Tay heard the first chords of the song strike disorientally, somewhat far away. The bird and the raspers croaked and took flight through the window. The baby in the girl's arm woke and began to scream. The song, notice the capital letters, swelled in intensity, yet still remained subtle and stately in tempo. The movement of everything seemed to take on the rhythm of the music, as if strange choreography had been staged. The girl rising to the window. Yeah. The clouds reflecting back red from the inferno below. Her scream, all muted, consumed by the song. Everything that came after Tay had seen so many times. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Tay's the main character, I think. Oh. Everything that came after... No, do it again. There should have been a comma thereafter. Everything that came thereafter, Tay had seen so many times. It had almost ceased to be a nightmare. He did not remember anything of his life before coming to the island of Gorn. But he understood that there was something different in his past that set him apart from his cousins. It wasn't simply that his parents were dead. His cousin Baynarth's parents had also died in the war. Nor were the other housemen on Gorn, or nearby Mournhold, unusually cruel to him. They treated him with the same polite indifference that any Indral has for any other 8-year-old boy that got underfoot. But somehow, with absolutely certainty? What? Absolute certainty, whatever. Tay knew he was alone. Different. Because of the song he always heard in his nightmares. You're certainly imaginative. His aunt, Ulala, would smile patiently before waving him away so she could return to her scriptures and chores. Who's talking? Different? Everyone in the world thinks they're different. That's what makes it such a common sentiment, said his older cousin, Kalkorath, who was studying to be temple priest and had a firm grasp on paradoxes. Paradoxes? Yeah, no, then. If you tell anyone else that you keep hearing music where there's no music to be heard, they'll call you mad and bury you in the shrine of Shigorath. His uncle, Trithith, like Griffith only Trithith, would snarl before striding away to attend his business. Only his nursemaid, Edaba, would listen to him seriously, and just nod with a faint look of pride. But she would never say another word. His cousin and chief playmate, Baynar, was by far the least interested in the stories of his song and his dreams. How tiresome you are with all this Tay, said Baynard after luncheon After luncheon? The summer... After luncheon? The summer of his 8th year. What? What? He, she... What does that mean, luncheon? Is that like luncheon meat? I don't know. Hang on. Lunch. Maybe it's lurch. No, it's definitely lunch. Yeah, luncheon meat. What? The fuck does lunch mean? Luncheon. A formal lunch. Okay. My god, the grammar is horrendous. I hate it. Anyway, what he's trying to say is, during the summer of his 8th year, after a formal lunch, Baina said, "How tiresome you are with all this Tay." He, she, and a younger sister. Wait, I thought Tay was a guy. I originally thought Tay was a girl. But then, here, he. But here it's got he, she. But Maynard is a guy too. Or is she? Maybe, no, okay, Maynard's a girl. Okay, got it. He, she, and the younger sister Vesta walked into a clearing in the midst of flowering trees. The grass was very low, as it do, barely up to their ankles, and there were big black piles of leaves from the previous autumn. "Now, shall we get back to it? What shall we play?" Tay thought for a moment. "We could play the Siege of Orsonium." "What's that?" asked Vasta, their constant companion, 3 years their junior. Orsonium was the home of the orcs, often the Worthgrowth... God damn it. You can do it. Worthgaren. No? You can do it. Rothgaren. Garian. Sure. Rothgarian. Yeah, that's right. Mountains. For hundreds of years, it kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger. The orcs would come down out of the mountains and rape and pillage all over High Rock. And then King Joel of Daggerfall and Gaiden Shinji. Gaiden Shinji! I love Gaiden Shinji, even though I know nothing about him. Remember that quote from Arena? Sorry. Gaiden Shinji of the Order of Diagna and someone else, I forget, from Sentinel, all joined together against Orsonium. For 30 years they fought Orsonium. They fought and fought. Orsonium had walls made out of iron. And try as they might, they couldn't break through. "So what happened?" asked Baynor. "You're so good at making up things that never happened. Why don't you make it up?" So they did. Day was the king of the orcs, perched up in a tree that they called Orsonium. Baynor and Vasta played King Joel and Gaiden Shinji, and they threw pebbles and sticks up at Tay, while he taunted them in his most guttural voice. The three decided that the goddess Kalkorath, played by Baynor and Joel, answered the prayers of Gaiden Shinji and drenched Orsonium. The turned to rain. The walls rusted and dissolved. On cue, Tay obligingly fell from the tree and let King Joel and Gaiden Shinji mangle him with their enchanted blades. For the most of that summer, the year 675 of the First Era, Tay was nearly insensible by the power of the sun. There were no clouds, but it rained most every night, so the vegetation on the island of Gorn was bewilderingly lush. The stones themselves seemed to glow with sunlight, and the ditches burned with white meadowsweet, and parsley down? Sure. All around him were soft smells of flower and tree, untroubled by wind. The foliage was purple-green, blue-green, ash-green, white-green, all sorts of greens. The wild cupolas, twisting cobbled streets, and thatched roofs of the little village of Gorn, and massive bleached rock of Sandrill House, all were magical to him. Yet the dreams haunted his nights, and the song continued whether he was awake or not. Against Aunt Ulala's admonishments, Tay, Bainar, and Vasta had breakfast outdoors every morning with the servants. Ulala would hold an interior breakfast for herself and any visiting dignitaries. Guests were rare, so she often ate alone. At first the servants would dine in silence, attempting gentility. Gentillery? Sure. But they broke down and would regale the children with gossip, reports, stories, and rumours. Poor Anna has laid up with a fever again. I'm telling you, they're cursed. The whole lot of them. Piss on the fabric. Piss on the fairy, and they piss right back on you. Doesn't little Miss Stasia look, just a wee bit tight around the belly region lately? She's not. The only servant who didn't speak at all was Tay's nursemaid, Edinburgh. She wasn't pretty like the other maids, but the scars on her face did not deform her. Her poorly set broken nose and her short hair gave her a certain alien mystique. Well, Mystique does look like an alien. X-Men joke, sorry. She would merely quietly smile at the gossip and look at Tay with almost frightening love and devotion. One day after breakfast, Braynar whispered to Tay and Vasta, "We have to go to the hills on the other side of the island." She had used such imperatives before, and always had something wonderful to show. A waterfall, tucked away behind ferns and tall rocks, a sunny grove of figs, a discreet still some... oh my god. I can't read this shit. A discreet still some peasants had set up. A discreet still? What's a still? I don't know. I'm gonna look it up. Anyway. A sickly oak twisted into a kneeling human figure. A collapsed stone wall that they imagined was thousands of years old. Hold on, I need to look this up. A still. Type in still and then noun. Like a distillery? No, not a photo. Yeah, I got no idea. What the fuck does still mean as a noun? No, that's chaos. That's adjective. Almost said chaos, which is Japanese for adjective. Deep silence. No. Why would peasants set up a photograph? No. Whatever it is not in here. Okay, fair enough. The last refuge of a doomed princess they named Menalia. The three walked across through the forest until they came to a clearing, a few hundred feet beyond. The meadow sank to a dry creek bed filled with small, smooth stones. They followed that into the dark woods where trees canopied high over their heads. Sporadic red and yellow blossoms burst along the moist underbrush, but they became rarer and rarer as the children marched on under the umbrageous oaks and elms. The air cracked with birds ticking, a staccato choral piece. Choral. Whatever. A minor chord of the song. "Where are we going?" asked Tay. It's not where we're going, it's what we're gonna see, replied Bader. The forest surrounded the three children completely, bathed them in its tenebrous hues, and breathed on them with wet chirrups and sighs. It was easy for them to imagine that they were within a monster, walking along its twisted spine of stones. Bader scrambled up the steep hill and peered through the thick mass of shrub and tree. Tay lifted Vasta out of the creek bed and climbed out, gripping soft grass for support. There was no path through the forest here. Brambles and low-hanging branches struck at them like the claws of chained beasts. How many pages are there? Oh, Jesus Christ. So many pages. Keep going, don't stop. Like I have a fucking choice. Brambles and low-hanging branches struck at them like claws of chained beasts. The cries of the birds came ever more strenuous, as if angered at the invasion. One limb drew blood on Vasta's cheek. But he didn't cry out. Even Brainard, who could pass like an ethereal creature through impenetrable forests, had a braid catch on a bramble, ruining the intricate pattern a servant had woven hours before. She paused to pull out the other braid, so her bright, unruly tresses fell freely behind her. Now she was something wild, a nymph guiding the other two through her woodland domain. The song began to beat like a wild pulse. I don't know why, but I'm reminded of The Last Guardian here. Or maybe Shadow of the Colossus? Either one. They were on a shelf of stone below a cliff overlooking a tremendous gorge. Staring over an expanse of cinder, it looked like the scene of a tremendous battle, a holocaust of fire, charred boxes, weaponry, animal bones, and detritus? Sure. Two, annihilated to be identifiable, littered the ground. What? Oh, two annihilated to be identifiable. Oh, got it. Speechless, Tay and Vasper stepped into the black field. Breda smiled, proud that she had finally found something of true wonder and mystery. "What is this place?" asked Vasper at last. Oh. Breda shrugged. "I thought at first that it was some kind of ruin, but now I think it's a junk pile. Just not like any junk pile I've ever seen. Just look at this stuff." The three began an unorganized survey of the dusty mounds of refuse. Brainer found a twisted sword only lightly blackened by flame and began polishing it to read the inscriptions on the blade. Vassar amused himself by breaking brittle boxes with his hands and feet, imagining himself a giant of unbelievable strength. A battered shield attracted Tay, and there was something about it that reverberated with the sound of the song. He pulled it out and wiped its surface clean. "I've never seen that crest before," said Brainer, looking over Tay's shoulder. "I think I have, but I don't remember," Tay whispered, trying to conjure the memory from his dreams. He was sure he had seen it there. "Look at this!" Vaster cried, interrupting Tay's thoughts. The boy was holding up a crystal orb. As his hand moved over the surface, brushing away grit and dust, a key in the song rose, which sent a shiver through Tay's entire body. Brainer ran over to look at Vaster's treasure, but Tay felt paralyzed. "Where did you find that?" she gasped, gazing into the swirl beneath the crystal surface. "Over in that wagon," Vaster gestured, toward a heap of blackened wood, barely discernible from the other piles, but for its cart spokes. Brainer began digging into the half-collapsed structure, so only her feet could be seen. The song built in potency, sweeping over Tay. He began walking towards Vasta slowly. "Give me that," he whispered in a voice he could barely recognize as his own. "No!" Vasper whispered back, his eyes locked on the colours reflected in the heart of the globe. It's mine! Breda dug through the remains of the wagon for several more minutes, but she could find no treasures. She could find no treasures like Vasta's. Most everything within was destroyed, and what remained was commonplace by any standards. Broken arrows, armor shards, guar bones. Frustrated, she pulled herself into the sunlight. Tay was alone, at the edge of the great gorge. Where's Vasta? Tay blinked and then turned back to his cousin with a shrug and a grin. He went back to show everyone his new blender. Did you find anything interesting? Not really, said Baina. We probably ought to go back home before Vasta tells them anything that will get us in trouble. Tay and Baina started the walk back at a quick pace. Tay knew that Vasta would not be there when they got back. He would never be returning home again. The crystal globe rested snugly in Tay's satchel, hidden under a pile of junk he had picked up. With all his heart he prayed for the song to return and drown out the memory of the gorge and the long, silent fall down. The boy had been so surprised he hadn't even time to scream. And that was The Poison Song, Book 1 by Briston Zell. So, Tay pushed Vestal off the gorge because the song told him to, or because he wanted the orb, or both? Well, there are exactly 7 books in the Poison Song series, so we've got a ways to go. But for now, this has been another reading of the Elder Scrolls. My name is Leo, and I will see you next time.